بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. I greet our listening audience with the greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum. And what I just recited is the first chapter, the opening chapter of the Qur'an. It is called Al-Fatiha. Today we're going to look at chapter 2, verse 256. Chapter 2, verse 256, and we will follow our known procedure of looking at the meaning of words, grammar, commentary. The commentary will be by Jalalain, and also other two sources. One main other source we'll be looking at, and our reflection and commentary will be based upon the speeches or writing of Imam W.D. Muhammad. So these are the sources that we'll be using for our reflection and commentary. So let me begin reading in English the translation first. With Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. There is no compulsion in religion. The right direction is henceforth distinct from error, and he who rejects false deities and believes in Allah has grasped a firm handhold which will never break. Allah is hearer, knower. And that's the end of the verse of the translation. So we begin reading from the Arabic text, given its translation through the meaning of key words in the verse. So it begins, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, La ikraha. This la here is a negation. It's a negation of origin, called nafiyatun jinsun, or nafiyatun jinsun. It negates the origin of the thing, the noun that comes after it. And the noun that comes after it, its qur'ah, is the noun of the lad. It's the noun of the lad. And this is saying that no ikrah. Ikrah, let's go to the meaning. Ikrah is, it's better where irgam. It's better is force. Force, strong force, like a mountain force. It's better. And irgam is compulsion. You have compulsion, force and compulsion. But when you look at the idea. We get the idea of a mountain here. When you look at a mountain like a volcano, we do find naturally in the creation of the earth the compulsion and strong force of a volcano. So when we go back up here and look at this word now, we can say that there is force and there is compulsion that's in the human being, but this force and compulsion should not be given in a way or exemplified in a way that it will cause hatred. Ikraha is from the word kariha, means hatred. Hatred. So we could say no cause of hatred. This is in form of force or causation. So there's no force or compulsion that it would cause hatred. It would cause hatred, fitdini. Fi in and adin is the common translation of religion. Now, usually when you have a noun of la, ismul la, to make a complete thought, you need a predicate of la, a capital La. Fitdin is a prepositional phrase. We're given grammar, word by word grammar. Sometimes you can show the grammar by connecting the phrases, but here this method we're using is word for word. So the capital La, he's saying, is dropped. So no force and compulsion that would cause hatred is such and such in the religion. And the word religion here, it means الشريعة الشريعة والطاعة والانقياد لله وعبادته. So Sharia is we would say the legislative or the legal laws and application that comes from the Qur'an. It's called Sharia. This term Sharia, we hear it a lot. It's a very broad term, but it encompasses the idea of the whole religion, Sharia. Where ta'ati and obedience. Where al-inqiyadi is the compliance, obedience and the compliance to Allah. So it's following the prescribed legal injunctions, religious injunctions we could say, as Sharia, the prescribed religious injunctions and with obedience and compliance to Allah and ibadatihi and his forms of worship. When our whole life, when we look at religion in the comprehensive idea, the whole life is ibadah. Every action that we do in our life, it begins with an intention and is performed under the idea of ibadah, the worship of Allah. This is a comprehensive meaning of religion. So, but there is no force or compulsion in religion, in this idea of accepting or pushing on someone the prescribed legal injunctions or forcing into obedience or compliance. قد تبين, we have the phrase afterwards, قد تبين الرشد من الغي. That's the next phrase. We want to learn to read the Qur'an by phrases and connect the phrases. Then by verses and connect the verses. قد تبين الرشد من الغي. So here he said, so I'll give you the translation that he has here, so it'd be easy for you to stay with it, with the presentation. He says the right direction, that's arushtu. Arushtu. The right direction is henceforth distinct. Distinct is tabayyana. Distinct from error, and error is gaigi. Distinct from error. The right direction is distinct from error. So we get a little more clarity or comprehensiveness from seeing the meaning of the key words, because it's very difficult to translate the Qur'an word by word and get the full meaning or view or the various shades of meanings that can be applied as though you're looking in a prism. So he's giving you just one color, one ray of light from the prism when there's many. So qad tabayyana, and tabayyana is madin, fi'lun madin, a past tense verb. And this qad here is a particle of tahqiq. And tahqiq is that it carries the idea of the true reality. So it gives the idea that it's a true, universal, natural reality of what comes after. So tabayyana. So here, tabayyana, he's saying, is bahara, where it tadaha. And bahara means apparent. It's open, it's apparent. Tabayyana. But it tadaha is clear explanation. We could say clearly explained. Clear. So arushtu here is clearly, it's apparent, and it's clearly explained. And this phrase here is in connection with the phrase comes before. So in the idea of the Qur'an defining itself, if we just looking at the verse now, if we do not understand what deen is in terms of what we would call Qur'an bil Qur'an now, the Qur'an by the Qur'an, then a deen is being defined by the words tabayyana and arushtu, and al-gayu being the opposite. Thus, the religion here, at deen, the religion is bahra, what it tadaha, meaning that this is the idea of it being tabayyana. That from this verse, then, from this we could say that this religion is not to be the dominant religion, as we have found in some translations of the Qur'an, that they give the idea that Islam is the most dominant religion. That wording is not good wording. though, as we say, we do find compulsion and force in a volcano. But this religion is to be tabayyana. Tabayyana defines this religion. Not ikrah. Tabayyana. There is no ikrah. There never was any ikrah. There never was any force, compulsion that would cause hatred. It never existed because of the lie that we're using here saying. So I'm saying that to say that this religion is to be open, manifest, and clear with clear explanation. We're not to involve ourselves with high theological rhetoric that the common man can't understand what we're saying. Now, the thought and idea may be high or difficult for comprehension, but not the language. We're to have language that the common person in America, since we're in America, we should use a language that the common person can understand with the common educational level of the common person in America. And this religion will be open, meaning for in terms of a sign, we're not to have stained glasses. The mosque is not to have stained glass, it is to be clear. What's going on inside should be clear in our outward expression. As though our body, our skin is made of clear glass, that the enlightenment of the religion that goes on inside would manifest itself clear outside, as though we are left, and a lamp that has the light, the fire inside the lamp covered with the glass. And the glass illuminates the light. We're not to stain the glass that the light does not illuminate the environment. I believe we can find support for this in the Bible also, in terms of letting the light shine. So Ar-Rushdu here, he's saying, El-Idraku wa husnu at-tasarruf. So this is El-Idraku, I'm going to say, is the perception and the excellence of behavior, the excellence of at-tasarruf, conduct and behavior, is Ar-Rushdu. So our perceptions in religion and the conduct and behavior that is displayed by the perceptions that's influenced by the light of the religion is clear and visible. Tabayyana ar-rushdu min al-ghayyi. From al-ghayyi, and al-ghayyi is ad-dalali. Ad-dalali. And ad-dalali is from straying, or al-ghayyi from error, or from straying off from the path. Yes. The next phrase, فَمَنْ يَكْفُرُ بِالطَّاغُوتِ. We take this part. فَمَنْ يَكْفُرُ بِالطَّاغُوتِ. Thus, whoever That man, whoever yakfuru. Yakfuru is fi'lun mudari'un. It's the present tense verb. Yakfur. And it means la yu'min. La yu'min is do not believe. So whoever do not believe, bit taguti and in tagut. And he translated as and whoever rejects. So for yakfur, he says rejects here in English. And tagut here is false deities. Yes, false deities for tagut. But tagut here, he's also given an extended definition. It's kulli ma ubida min dunillahi. All of what is worshipped other than Allah is tagut. Any and all that is worshipped other than Allah. So whoever does not believe in anything that is worship, anything that is worship that's not Allah, yu'min. And he says and believes, that's the word he has for yu'min. And yu'min is also fi'lun mudari'un. And this is, let's talk a little bit about it. Yakfur and yu'min. They are both fi'lun mudari'un majazumun. Majazumun meaning that this sukoon here indicates that they both are jussive. Present tense verbs in the jussive. And what caused them to be jussive is this man. And the man here is a particle of the jussive. It is a mubtada'un, it's the subject, but it's also jazm. It's also a particle of the jussive, causing the verb to be jussive. Therefore, we have a correlative clause here, clauses, meaning that there are two phrases that are correlated in terms of a conditional proposition, meaning that whoever does not believe and believe, then such and such. There's a response to this. So in our reading, we're going to be looking for the response. In our mind, we're looking for a response in the reading. And when the justice is used, it's strong. In the Quranic Arabic, the shorter the speech, the stronger the speech. So when you put the sukoon on the end, you're shortening the speech. You're shortening the sound. So you're making a strong and an abrupt ending to show the strength in the wording itself. So whoever, we could say, disbelieves or rejects or does not believe in tagut, anything that's worshipped other than Allah, and believes, he says, is yuz'inu wa yusaddiqu, who submits and have strong conviction. Strong conviction, billahi in Allah. Then the fa here, he's going to say, fa becomes harful jazaa. This becomes the particle of response. I'm going to give it that way. The particle of response is fa. Because normally, you may say, or it could be, that another verb that would be jussive. Another verb would be in a jussive as a response, or you have the the particle that introduced the response. And jazak here is also to give you the idea of consequence, the reward or consequence. And here it's more of a reward than the consequence, meaning a bad consequence. But that's why I would rather just say it's the response. Response or consequence. And that is the phrase here. قد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى. Again, قد is tahqiq. It's showing you a natural, true reality. The idea is strong. It's not something that is made up. The phrase when this qad is used in the sense of tahqiq, it's not something that is made up. It's something that is natural, that goes along in the universal realities of creation itself. There's no doubt about it. You and I didn't have anything to do with it. It's there. It's there in the nature of creation. So istamsaka is fi'l madin. Fi'l madin. So he says it's grasped. That has grasped. A firm handhold. Bil urwati is firm. Al wuthqa. Wuthqa is firm. And al urwati is handhold. So istamsaka here, he's saying, is tamassaka. Istamsaka, tamassaka. So what he's showing here is that though this is in what we call form 10, and form 10 means to seek something or use something as a utility. But though it's in form 10, he's saying it has the meaning of form 5. Tamassaka is form 5. So this grasp now, this grasping, this holding on is reflexive and it's intensified. But the action occurs from within. It occurs from within. So what we're talking about now is something that's from within, not something that is outside, empirical. It's more reflexive, meaning that the action is more abstract than concrete, because the action occurs from within. So this is the idea that he's giving here. Bil urwati, and al urwati and al wuthqa, he's saying here, putting the two together, one of them is the adjective of the other, describes the other. So this wuthqa is na'atun. Na'atun is the adjective of al-urwati. And al-urwati, it ends in the kasra, we have had many times, is majrurun. It is the object to the preposition be. And be is the preposition. So bil urwati wuthqa, that's how it would be read. Sometimes this preposition is translated, and sometimes it's not. We'll speak more later on, at a later date, about the prepositions and their usage with a verb. With the verb. This preposition is associated with the verb, but it governs the noun. So al-urwati al-wuthqa here, he's saying al-aqidah. Al-aqidah al-thabita. Al-aqidah al-thabita. So al-aqidah is, we hear this word a lot, al-aqidah, aqidah. Aqidah is faith, but it's conviction, strong conviction and faith. Aqidah. And al-thabita is strong. This is established, strong, well established. This the grasp that you would have. So, what is it saying here? Because Tamasaka, we say from five, it occurs from within, that whoever, here's the condition, whoever does not believe in Tagut, anything worship other than Allah, they do not believe it, and they are submissive and strongly convicted. Mutatik is another word for conviction. In Allah, that's the condition. Then they have taken on a grasp that is very strong in terms of their faith and conviction. That la infisama. La infisama is, here we have this la again, is nafiyah to jinsin, meaning that it's the negation of origin. There's no origin of there being insama. And insama is the ismul la. It's the noun of la. These two are coming together, meaning that there is no break. There's no separation. Infisama is inkita'a, meaning that there's no separation, there's no severance, there's no break. That's the condition. That's the condition that we're giving. And Allah is hearing, knowing. So the essence of this is that there is no compulsion, there's no compulsion or force that would cause hatred in the religion, because this religion is clear and manifest. The perceptions and the actions of behavior are to be clear and manifest. Then, based upon this proposition, that whoever does not believe in Tagut and they believe in Allah, then they have grasped the hold with a strong conviction, aqidah, that will never break. Okay. Let's go to the tafsir. So let's read over the verse again, and then we will look at the tafsir, the commentary of Jalalain. La ikraha fi ddini qad tabayyana ar-rushdu min al-ghayy. فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لا انفصام لها. There is no separation, severance laha to it, to the grasp, to the strong grasp. Wallahu, and Allah, Sami'u al-Sami'u Alimun. Is hearing, knowing. So here in Jalalain, we may get a little more in terms of explanation and clarity of what's being said. La ikraya fi din is from the verse. He said, ala as-dukhuli fihi, upon the acceptance in it. There's no force or compulsion in causing hatred in the prescribed legal injunctions upon the acceptance in it. قد تبين الرشد من الغي. He said, ظهر, see, using the same term as Abu Faris, ظهر بالآيات البينات. That is to say that we can say zuhira if we want. It has become clear and evident, manifest in the clear times, that al-iman, that faith, rushdun. Faith is rushdun. The faith is guidance, wa kufru gayyun. And disbelief is error. That is clear. It's clear. In this religion, al-Islam we're speaking of, or in religion. He says 15 in religion, period. Because, as we have stated in many of our presentations, Allah is addressing all of mankind. Not just the Muslim here. But we're to be an example for all people as Muslims. But this is addressing all people in religion. That the religion, your religion, should be open, manifest, with clear signs. That faith is guidance and disbelief is error. Nuzilat fi man kana lahu min al-ansari awladun. This is saying that this was revealed. Now we have in some of our literature, we have what is called the Asbabul Nuzul. Asbabul Nuzul means the reason of the revelation coming down. The reason of it, meaning that Muhammad the Prophet in his life, the prayer and peace be upon him, the Qur'an came addressing situations. That there were situations that prompted the revelation, many of the verses to come to him. But when the verses come, they're coming in a universal sense, not just restricting to that particular historical reference. So some of the scholars who have remembered, because many of them memorize a lot, gives situations that occurred that prompted the revelation. So here he's saying that this what came down, Nuzilat, concerning those who, the children were forced from the Ansar. The Ansar are the group, they were called the helpers. The Ansar are the helpers that when the Muslims were being pushed out of Mecca and they went to Medina, the group there that welcomed them and helped them are called the Ansar. The Ansar. So the children, this is children that it's addressing. It's addressing the children. that this was occurring, this was happening from the inside. إرادة أن يكرههم على الإسلام, that they desired or intended that they forced them, compelled them upon the religion. And this occurs today. And I'm sure there are Muslims that will bring hadith to show the compulsion and the force that we should have upon the children in accepting the religion. Let's discuss this for a minute. But here, we're saying that this was revealed, though La ikraha fi din is a universal idea. In all religion, it was addressing this particular circumstance. That we have Muslims today that would say at a certain age we're to force the children to pray. That we have our prayers, our 5 prayers. In the prayer, we have units of prayer, of standing, bowing, prostrating, and sitting. And when the call to prayer occurs, we're to force the children. But we don't have, and I don't hear, the common expression that we're to force the children to read when the first command from Allah in the revelation is Iqra, read. However, we do find in the United States that the children are forced to go to school to learn to read. That I don't know, maybe today, but I know, I have to say even today, that the children have to go to school to learn to read. They have to learn their letters and they have to learn their numbers. This is a compulsion because we know we lived in a time where if your children did not go to school, a truant officer will be knocking at your door, and the law could take your children from you and give those children to someone else. In the United States, I was in a southern town just a few years ago, and I'm watching TV. Now, in a southern town, this was down south, we call it down south, where just in our lifetime, and I'm not saying when I was a little boy, when I was a teenager, during the time of a teenager, during the time of Martin Luther King Jr., that we were demonstrating, protesting against the government that we should have the right to education like other people. That we show it all the time, the little girl that was forced to go to the African American child, forced to attend the school of predominantly Caucasian. And we have this, and we show this. Forced. Pushed. That's what we did. But yet, in the same southern area, I saw on the news, on the TV, locally, that there were Caucasian police riding and picking up young African-American children and putting them in the police car because they were skipping school and taking them back to the school. Look how things have reversed. We're talking about compulsion. That the police would see them walking, they would show them walking down the street, they would come and take them, handcuff them, put them in the car, and take them back to the school. So why don't we have, if there's going to be this idea of even encouraging, strong encouragement of the children in Islam, why don't we have this strong encouragement for them to learn to read and comprehend Qur'an? This Iqra doesn't mean just recite, just mimic sounds, memorize and mimic sounds without anything striking or influencing the intellect. No, Iqra is to read, like we're learning to read now. Why don't we have that? Why don't we have more children throughout the world, throughout the Muslim world, who can read and comprehend Qur'an? It doesn't have to be their language. Every human being can learn the language of the others. So everyone, this language here, this language is a natural language that's inherent in every human being. It's just we speak English because English is the language that we habitually learn from being a child because we're around it so much and we hear it so much. But we can learn another language. And the American people are the most arrogant people of the world who insist upon everyone learning English, and we only learn one language. We only speak one language. So why don't we have it? I'm being critical of the Muslim world now. Why don't we have it? Why don't we have? Looks like the United States read the Qur'an, and the United States created a public educational system that would force all of the children to have to attend the educational system that you have to learn to read and you have to learn your numbers. But you look at the Muslims, they're forcing the child to mimic sounds, even in the prayer. Don't you know a Muslim cannot do their prayer unless they're educated? Because in the prayer is a reading of the Qur'an. And you should be able to comprehend and understand what you're reading. So many of us stand behind the Imam, and the Imam is reading in the prayer, and we have no idea what he's saying. And we can have Imams that are reading in the prayer, and they have no idea of what they're saying. They're just mimicking sounds and going through action. And it doesn't strike. It doesn't strike the intellect. Well, in reality, our education should be in our prayer. Instead of us fighting and complaining and crying about how the United States have taken prayer out of the schools, actually our school is in our prayer. Because when we're praying, Allah is educating us. Because we're reading the Qur'an, and in the Qur'an we're reading it, and we're seeing what Allah is saying. The progress, like we're learning now. We're seeing this and we're rehearsing this as we're doing our prayer. Therefore, we're being educated in the prayer. But if we're just mimicking sounds and actions, there's no education in the prayer, and therefore we begin to see the fall of the Muslim world. Civilizations. At one time, it was the Muslims that was the leading high civilization of mankind. And Allah says that civilizations did not fall until they abandoned the prayer. So we haven't abandoned the prayer in terms of sounds and actions. We have abandoned the prayer in terms of having education in the prayer. Yes, this is a very beautiful religion. So before you force the child to pray, teach the child to read. So the child can read in the prayer. Educate the child. I mentioned this to the people in Ghana, that instead of building so many masjids, you go to Muslim countries, you see masjids everywhere, all over the place. Don't you know the masjid is the first school in Islam? The masjid is the school. So there's so many masjids, and the masjids are only occupied when the prayer is called. So I said to them, to the chief there. He's a relative, the chief of the people. They were going to build a masjid. And he just asked my opinion. So hey, what do you think? They showed me the land. We were walking, and we had passed two masjids. We drove by a couple of masjids, and when we got to walk through the village, we had already passed by two masjids. He said, what do you think? To where we're going to go? We're going to go right by, we passed by two masjids, and then when we get to our destination, there's a masjid right downstairs from where we were at, from the palace. There's a masjid, the place we call the palace. So I said, what do you think? And I'm saying, I think you should go to school for the children. You have plenty of masjid. And the weather is so good. See, sometimes I have to address my Ghanaian brothers because they are the one who honored me, have given me the honorary title of Progressive Chief. So I talk to them and help them make progress. That's my job. So I'm not condemning them. I'm talking to them now. Isn't it wonderful that we could sit here in the United States and I can talk to them with this technology? And they're listening to me. So I'm saying to them, but it's not just to them, it's to all of us. I'm saying to them, build a school and then have prayer in the school. It can look like a masjid, but make it a school. Until all of the Muslims in Ghana are educating their own children at least up until middle school age. Middle school and high school, they should begin to mix. Even though you don't have this, like the United States, we have all kinds of people in the United States from all over the world. But Ghana, you have all the various people in their tribes, let's say. But anyway, even middle school, they should mix. And even high school, the children who excel, some of them should be able to go out into the world and study, and seek education and study, and then come back and be a help to the Ghanaian people. Not that they don't have schools in Ghana. Now, don't get the idea that this is a place in Africa they don't have schools. They have schools, education, knowledgeable people, and all of that. But it's a lot of people. It's a poor country. And education, because of many people from the rural area comes down into the big city area, and they're not educated, it becomes a problem because they have nothing to give to add to the society. When you have a society of uneducated people, there's very little that people have to offer the society. So they end up, because they're not very productive in developing their natural resources, they become a very poor people. So they have to become, this is from the president of Ghana, they have to become more zealous in developing the natural resources. But getting back to education, so I was saying to them that you cannot pray. You have all these mosques, but you cannot pray as a Muslim and be uneducated. So build the schools until, if you have to pray outside, because the weather is so good, so nice, it's hot, but the weather, the conditions are so good that if you can pray outside. So find a place, even though in certain areas in these villages land is a premium, but find land where you can pray outside, designate it as a masjid, build a canopy over the area, if need be, to block from the sun, and put your money into building schools first, that all the children are being educated, and then build the masjid. Don't build the masjid first and then the school. The masjid is the school. And all of the masjids you have, convert them all to schools. That they're schools. That they're being occupied during the day as schools, but when the adhan is called, it becomes a masjid. Education. Iqra. Iqra is a priority. Allah didn't say, make salat. He said read. Read first. Educate yourself first. That's the priority in the religion. So if there's going to be any sense of compulsion for children, the compulsion should be in education. Educate them. And then, if you educate them, and they become old enough, let them make the decision on what's best for them in their life. Teach them first, and then let them make the decision. Teach them to be thinkers. Don't condition children to accept dictatorship. Teach the children to have critical thinking, that they can make decisions, and they can make the best decisions for them in their life. That they will grow to see that this religion is clear, it's open, and it's the best thing for their life. Because you can't force them. So we have too many children today that are growing up and leaving the religion because they were taught to mimic sounds and didn't know what the sounds meaning, and we insulted their intelligence. We insulted their brain. We had no respect for their brain. That they have memorized the whole Qur'an they have memorized and don't know what the Qur'an is saying. And we didn't educate them, and now they find themselves not even being good, valuable citizens that can contribute to their own community. They can't get a job. Yes. So we have to change this idea. The masjid is the school. But you go throughout the Muslim world, you find masjids empty. Empty until the adhan is called. Big masjid, huge, empty. And the Muslims don't have, in the United States, the Muslims' children are attending the schools of someone else. And when they're attending the schools, they're not learning to read the Qur'an. That's where we fail. That's where we fail in religion. This religion is not a religion to mimic, to put on clothes, put on costumes, make ourselves look like someone from the Middle East, in a Middle Eastern costume, and with beads around our neck, counting beads, mimicking sounds. That's not this. That is not this religion, and that was not Allah's intent. Yes, I wanted to take some time to address this today. فَمَنْ يَكْفُرُ بِالتَّاغُوتِ. So whoever disbelieves in Taghut, and he's defining Taghut here as shaitan, Satan, al-asnam, or the asnam, we would say, are the figures that they have brought about with their own imagination, objects, and they turn to these objects in worship. وَهُوَ يُطْلَقُ عَلَى الْمُفْرَدِ وَالْجَمْعِ. And this applies to the singular and the plural. That there are those who turn to Satan, or they turn to the word is escaping me now. Sometimes I'm going between English and Arabic so much, the English escapes me. The asnam. These are the statues and pictures that have been erected to give our attention to as though we worship them. So even in Islam, we've gone to the extent that many Muslims disbelieve in pictures at all. But it's not that the pictures, it's that when you're giving so much attention to them. So we are not like Muhammad the Prophet, the prayers and peace be upon him. We're not to have pictures of Muhammad the Prophet. We're not to have pictures of Jesus or any of the prophets, men of this statue, because we give too much attention to them, that the people end up worshiping them in the form of picture, in their pictorial form, where in reality, we're not to see them in their pictorial form. We're not to see Muhammad the Prophet in his pictorial form, even mentally. We're not to see Jesus in his pictorial form mentally. And when we come right down to it, we're not to see each other in our pictorial form. Like now, I'm speaking to you now. I don't need to show you my picture on Facebook. You don't need to see me. You don't need to see my face, because the attention is not on my face. The attention is not on my physical form. The attention you're giving is on the logic that I'm presenting from the Qur'an. That's where I want your attention to be. Not on me. It's not about me. I should be able to walk down the street right now after I finish, and you listen to this, and you won't even know who I am. Because that's not the important. The important thing is not my pictorial. So how did Jesus tell his followers, his disciples, his followers, how did he tell them how they should see him? He didn't say, see me in my pictorial form. He took some bread. He said, this is how you to see me. He took the bread and showed them the bread. He took the drink and showed them the drink. He was telling them, this is how you were to see me. He's showing them in the symbolic form, metaphorical form, of how you're to view me. In terms of how is he defined? How does the scripture show us how we can see him in scripture? He's defined as the word. So see me in this idea of the word in terms of the bread, the reading, and the spirit in the reading. So what is he saying to them? Even you in religion have to be educated to see him in a rational sense, in the rational sense of the reading, and in the spirit of the reading, the spirit, the inspiration that should come from the reading. That's how you to see me in terms of the word of Allah, not as a flesh and blood body. This is the teachings of Jesus. But they did it anyway. They disobeyed him and presented him in pictorial form. They made a picture of a flesh and blood man and said, this is Jesus. But that's not what he did. And Muhammad the Prophet comes and he says the same thing. Do not present me in a pictorial form. Then how are we to see Muhammad the Prophet then? Are we to see him in his pictorial form? No. We're to see him in the form of the perfect symmetry of obedience and enlightenment, and keeping that perfect symmetry as we advance in the enlightenment. The obedience and enlightenment, keeping a perfect symmetry between the two, meaning that we're to see him in his uswa. And the uswa is not a physical picture. The uswa is an abstract. Yes. Anything else is asnam. That's what we're talking about, this idea here. Asnam. So Martin Luther King Jr. comes along. What does he say? That we're not to see each other in our skin color, in the color of our skin, in our pictorial form. He's saying the same thing. That we're not to see each other in our pictorial form in terms of our skin color, we should reduce ourselves as an advanced society to the level that we would identify groups of people according to the obvious outwardly color of their skin. That we should identify each other in our groups in terms of the content of our character. Otherwise, it's leading to the idea of asnam in the idea of believing and worshiping in Tagut. وَيُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ اسْتَمْسَكَ. And he believes in Allah, thus he has this firm, strong handhold. And again, you can see here, another source is Jalalain is saying Tamassaka. He's showing this in Form 5 also. He's saying Tamassaka, showing that Istamsaka, Form 10, is really in being understood in Form 5 that the actions are occurring from within. Bil uswati al-wuthqa. And he says, bil aqdi al-muhkami. And this is, I would say, muhkam is a strong logical agreement. That's the condition. That if you reject Tagut, anything in a form of worship that becomes an asnam, and you believe in Allah, then you have a strong logical agreement contract that cannot be broken. That infisama, he used the same wording as Abu Faz, inkita'a. Meaning that there's no breaking. There's no breaking of this contract. We've tied a knot. Ukat or aqdi. We've tied this knot, and there's no untying of the knot. Laha, to it, wallahu sami'un, meaning lima yuqalu, to what is being said, and alimun bima yuf'al, and by what is being done. Allah, he hears that which is being said, and he knows that which is being done. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So let us look now at the reflection and the commentary that we have written from this. So we say no force or compulsion is in accepting the design on life regulated by revelation. Obedience to Allah or the forms of worship. No force or compulsion is accepting the design on life regulated by revelation, obedience to Allah, or forms of worship. There is no compulsion or force in any of them. The signs are clearly explained, and it is apparent that the perceptions and the excellent behavior have distinguished guidance from error. Whoever does not believe, trust, or worship Satan or anything other than Allah, but submits and is confident in Allah, surely he has grasped hold of a strong logical conviction of faith, whereas there is no separation or severance to it. It should be or, not of. Or severance to it. Allah has distinctive, perfect hearing and expansive in knowing. The comment we're making is many of us have accepted this religion, al-Islam. I'm being specific to al-Islam, but actually it's to any religion. So many of us have accepted this religion because I have to address my own people first. Al-Islam, believe in it, benefit from it in our life, and love it so much that sometimes we become overzealous to share it by forcing it on someone else. But that is very disrespectful and cheapens the wonderful gifts that Allah has guided us to. This religion is so beautiful and so wonderful that we cheapen it when we are forcing it upon someone. This religion is based upon the human being's pure original nature and is formed or comprised of our own human values. This beautiful gift was given to us to please our souls, and that we be pleasing in the presence of the most merciful benefactor with our conduct and behavior. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. We thank you for taking the time to listen to our presentation this morning. Peace be upon all of you. Assalamu alaikum.